Welcome to another Friday the 13th. In fact, this may be the final Friday the 13th I review a Friday the 13th movie, because after tonight I am all out of Friday the 13th movies. How many times can I say Friday the 13th before I mess up? I don't know. But whatever the case may be, it is time I get started on reviewing Friday the 13th Part 10. Friday the 13th in Space. Jason X. Jason Goes to Hell ended with a huge teaser that got audiences talking. Freddy Krueger's hand pulled Jason's hockey mask into the ground, and audiences hailed in excitement. They were finally going to get to see their dream come true, a showdown between Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger that was going to be as big as when Godzilla first fought King Kong. How would this play out? Would they fight each other? Would they team up to murder unsuspecting teens? Audiences could not wait to see this grandiose event, but wait they would have to, and wait they did. Years went by and nothing came out of this teased matchup. In time, audiences started to lose interest. Even the producers at New Line Cinema and Sean S. Cunningham seemed to wane at the idea, as no script was ever good enough to get the ball rolling. This in turn led to the creation of another standalone Jason film, one that, like many of its predecessors in the past, would be plagued with production issues, script rewrites, POV wars, but the one thing that remained constant was the decision to take Jason into space. Seriously? Space. Let's just move into the movie where evil gets an upgrade. Jason X begins in 2010 with Jason chained up awaiting to be cryogenically frozen in the Crystal Lake Research Facility. Hey, look at that! New Line learned how to spell his name properly. David Cronenberg shows up. Yes, that David Cronenberg. Demanding to take Jason to his own facility so that he could study his regeneration ability.
You're willing to risk the deaths of innocent civilians if he escapes.
Yes.
To their surprise, and none of the audience's, Jason has escaped, killing everyone except for a lone scientist named Rowan LaFontaine, who sacrifices herself in order to freeze Jason.
I really can't stay.
But baby, it's cold outside.
But it's cold outside.
4 centuries later, a group of student scavengers discovered the underground facility.
Someone want to tell me what that is?
It's like a big kind of frozen storage thing.
With suits like those, something feels like it's missing here. Oh! How about this? Anyway, they find the frozen corpses of both Jason and Rowan and take them up onto their ship for study.
That is a terrible idea. Too bad, because I'm doing it.
Rowan is resuscitated so she can receive all of the exposition we, the audience, have been waiting to find out.
The year is 2455. You're aboard Grendel, a Class 4 catamaran transport ship. We're on our way back home, and you're going to be just fine.
It's getting a little aliens up in here.
Not much longer, and we'll be at Earth 2.
What happened to Earth 1?
Well, you see, there was the story that involved superheroes like Superman, Flash, it's in here. There was this being called the Anti-Monitor who was destroying various Earths, and that's not the same thing you're talking about, is it?
It's dead.
We also come to find out that the teacher, Professor Lowe, is not exactly the moral man we were led to believe.
It's not Jason Voorhees, is it? But at the right buyer, he could be worth a fortune. You are one son of a bitch.
Soon to be one rich son of a bitch.
In the meantime, 2 horny teenagers tingle Jason's sex sense. I'm sorry, can you play that music again? Wow, the music there is just as awful as the fact that people on another side of the ship just happened to wake Jason up. Ugh. You know what? Let's just move on. Coolest death ever. Jason goes on a killing spree. The Space Marines, led by not Tony Todd, go after Jason.
He's screwed.
Hey! That was my line! What the hell? Stop stealing my lines! You're supposed to be a serious horror movie. You should not be doing puns like that in a serious horror movie. Those belong in a comedy horror. This is most certainly not supposed to be a comedy horror. Right? You're not supposed to be a comedy horror, right? I'm pretty sure it says in here it is not supposed to be a comedy horror. Jason's killing spree goes on for quite a while until even the ship's pilot ends up dead, which causes the ship to crash through a space station they were planning to dock at, destroying the station in the process.
Turn around and go back.
Hang on.
Well, Jason just made up for not being able to kill anyone in 4,000 years. Jason breaks into the room with our last living cast members and we get whatever the hell this scene is supposed to be.
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back. Whew.
Maybe this movie is supposed to be a horror comedy? Whatever the case may be, we get more of the survivors splitting up, a robot makeout scene, Rowan finding not Tony Todd alive, Jason killing some more, and one of the girls accidentally blows herself up with their mini-ship. Afterwards, just as Jason confronts Rowan and two others, Battle Angel Alita emerges and goes Rambo on Jason's ass.
"'Tis but a scratch."
After blowing him to hell, they celebrate their victory by learning their ship is going to blow.
Our hull is bleeding out. We're gonna have a core implosion in less than 30 minutes.
While they attempt to survive, their medical system short-circuit, resurrecting Jason. Again with the bad music! They are successful in blowing off a portion of their ship to delay their impending doom while they wait for a rescue ship to arrive, only for Uber Jason to emerge. Uber Jason makes short work of G.I. Jane. Then Janessa dies.
So long, farewell, I'll be just saying adieu.
More stuff happens that causes not Tony Todd to have to go outside of the ship to manually fix the docking bay bridges. That would allow our meatbags to flee into the rescue ship.
I'm going to divert the main power supply unit and send it to you.
Gotcha.
Uber Jason approaches their location, so they stall him by engulfing the room with a hologram that resembles Crystal Lake. Two fake girls distract his attention.
Hey, you want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
Hey, it's the newest rock band, Jason and the Holograms, everyone! Jason eventually figures it out, but not before Rowan and the scientist boy reach the rescue ship. Unluckily, not Tony Todd has to sacrifice himself so the ship can get away and he rides Jason like a mobile suit into Earth's atmosphere. This is followed by a poorly acted sequel bait scene.
Make a wish.
Landed in the lake.
Let's go check it out.
That was Jason in space! There's a reason why New Line Cinema had shelved this movie for 2 years. No, I mean there was a legitimate reason behind it. Although I'm not really sure I can say I really hate this one. It is by no means good. It doesn't even look or feel like an 80s slasher film series, as it looks too clean and the characters are even more paper thin than normal. They're pretty much non-existent in this film. They exist solely to die, and that is why I never even bothered to mention any of their actors. Other than Rowan's Lexa Doig, who went on to play Talia in Arrow, I hardly recognize anything the rest of the cast has been in beyond this movie. I'm not saying a movie needs to have a big name actor in it, as we have plenty of those, but this movie could have used actors and characters in it instead of death pieces. Nevertheless, I will give it credit for trying something completely new and being vastly superior to Jason Goes to Hell. At least this one isn't boring like Hell was. I also did like some of the death scenes, though I could have done without the garbage CGI blood splatters. Not to mention the screw death is hurt by it. The hologram rooms were an interesting idea, especially the one early on when two of the characters are playing some sort of video game and Jason shows up, killing their virtual selves before the real deal. I like that bit a lot. In fact, that would have been far more interesting. Instead of having all of these Marines just go down dark corners thinking they are hunting Jason when they aren't, it could have been them playing a giant video game and Jason kills them off one by one with others coming across the dead thinking it is just their avatar when it is actually them. That alone could have made for a wonderful sequence as opposed to the generic blackened hallways we got. The design of Uber Jason is by far the highlight of the movie, as it is the most original thing to occur in this cliched crapfest. The design is badass and there was so much potential of what they could have done with him. Regrettably, nothing interesting was executed with that version to really warrant it happening beyond it just being cool. I would have loved to have seen him turn his hand to a machete or something to that extent. If you're going to transform Jason into a cyborg and your movie already lacks any sense of suspense or tension to the point that it feels like a comedy horror film, have some fun with it. Go all out. Make Jason be the T-1000 since in the flesh he was already the Terminator. Don't just have him look cool, execute him being cool too. Well, they didn't, so I shouldn't waste any more time talking about what ifs. Speaking of what ifs, what if the soundtrack didn't suck? What if the soundtrack actually fit with the theme of the movie? What if Harry Manfredini actually watched cyberpunk films like Blade Runner, The Matrix, and Ghost in the Shell and gave this movie a score that matched those? Imagine how cool that would have been. Instead, he gave us a by-the-book, uninspiring generic slasher film score. I get the man was the primary composer for the franchise, but even John Carpenter knew when to let others take control of the soundtrack to fit the tone of his films. This one should have been that. Instead, Cunningham went to the Old Faithful because it didn't require any effort. It pretty much exemplifies Jason X in a nutshell. A film that pretends it wants to be ambitious, but instead ends up being a film that follows the safe choice in its execution. The entire concept, while dumb sounding, could have been revolutionary for the franchise had they not squandered it. Unless you absolutely must see every Friday the 13th film or every horror movie ever made, this is best if you just skip it. Sure, it is better than some of the other entries in the franchise, but not by much. Until next time, bye. I'm not kidding. According to this book, he is actually called Uber Jason. Yes, Uber Jason is his official name. Well, I mean, it does kind of make sense. He does drive his victims to death's doorstep. Hey, you think there's an Uber driver by the name of Jason? Wouldn't that be cool if there was? Then you can say, hey, it's Uber Jason. If your name is Jason and you're an Uber driver, you need to own that shit.